So Nano Banana Pro just came out this week, which means not only did the #1 AI image model in the world get an upgrade, but so did all of our content creation, AI automations, and AI agents. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how to combine the power of Nano Banana Pro and n8n to get the best of both worlds. I'm going to teach you how to automate the entire process of going from text, one reference images, or multiple reference images, not only into a Nano Banana Pro output, but into full-fledged videos as well, specifically UGC content. But the use cases go well beyond that. And what you're really going to learn today are the frameworks and tools so you can apply this new tech into any space you want. We got a ton to cover today, so let's just hop into it. So here's how I'm going to run today's video. We're going to start off with a demo so you can see how this whole automation works from beginning to end. And while that's going on, I'm going to talk a little bit about what changes you can expect with the new Nano Banana Pro versus the old model. This won't be a complete deep dive video on Nano Banana Pro. I'll link a video above where I do just that, but we are going to hit some of the big things that you're going to want to keep in mind. So for the demo, the idea is I want to take a single reference image. I want to turn that into an edited Nano Banana Pro image. And then I want to take that edited Nano Banana Pro image and use that as the first frame for my video, giving me full control of the creative process, but being able to do that while starting from essentially scratch. And so what you see here is just a bag of creatine gummies, right? My brother and I run our own company, and this is our product. Now, this product is particularly tough to use in AI content creation. And why is that? Well, it's because of the text. Notice lots of tiny text. And most models, when you try to take an image like this, even if it's clear, and you try to edit it in the AI context, it screws it all up. The text will fall apart, it'll get all mushy, it will look completely illegible. But with Nano Banana Pro, which has made huge strides when it comes to text generation, that's no longer a problem. So this entire content creation system runs essentially on like an Airtable front end, and n8n acts as the back end. But the nice thing about this is everything is controlled from one place and everything is executed with the click of a button. So for our demo, we've given it our image like I told you. I've given it a prompt, right? I just want a 9:16 amateur cell phone image of a mid-20s woman holding up the bag of Max gummies seen in the attached image. So, right, I'm going for that first frame for sort of like an amateur style UGC video that someone just filmed on their iPhone. I then set the resolution and the aspect ratio. One of the big changes with Nano Banana Pro is you can now control the resolution and the aspect ratio. For resolution, you have 1K, 2K, and 4K options. And then for the aspect ratio, you have a full suite of options, 1:1, 2:3, 3:2, whatever. But you just click the drop-down menu here, and then I set my status to create, and then I just hit image. Once I do that, I'll get the message that the workflow has started. And then if I click inside executions, we can see that it's already working. Now, once it creates that image, it's automatically going to switch the status to complete, and that image will automatically populate inside of Airtable. And I can take a look at it right here, and boom, there we go. Kind of a low quality picture of a woman with a bag of Max creatine gummies, and it looks legit. Now, to kind of show you the power of Nano Banana Pro, if I go in here and I zoom in real tight, this looks pretty good, right? Crafted with transparent, clinically dosed creatine, provide real noticeable results, no hidden additives, just clean and effective supplements. Now, if we get really deep, we can see noticeable. Maybe that's a little off. And then up here, the 130 gummies on the right is somewhat like clumped together. But when you zoom out to the full image, like it looks good. You can't immediately look at this and say, oh, text is garbage, right? That's a huge win for Nano Banana Pro. So it created the image. I like the image. Now I want to turn it into a video. Same exact process. I just give it the video prompt I want. I set the video aspect ratio, in this case, 9:16. And then all I have to do is hit create video. Workflow gets started and I'm all set. And I just wait for it to be created. It's that simple. And we're able to talk with a bunch of different programs, see all our results in one place, edit the parameters and edit the settings, all from Airtable.
If you struggle with traditional creatine powder, you have to try these gummies. The sour green apple flavor is incredible and they really work.
So that video is pretty solid, especially when you realize what we gave it for the video prompt was very bare bones, but we actually have a prompt optimizer built into this workflow to help you out in case you suck at prompting. So that was the demo, and you saw how we went from starting reference image to Nano Banana Pro image to starting frame for an actual video, right? All with the click of a button, and everything was controlled inside of Airtable. Now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take you through this automation because this looks crazy at the beginning, but it's more simple than you think. So we're gonna start really high level. I'll kind of explain what actually occurred on the back end during that demo. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go step by step, module by module, so you understand what's going on for each of these little nodes and what you need to edit to get it working for yourself. So right away, you'll notice there's kind of 4 automations here, and they've been split up based on how you create that original image. Nano Banana Pro allows you to either do text to image, right? I just prompt it. I can give it a reference image and have it edit it or use it as a style, or I can throw it multiple reference images. And here you see 2 images, right? We give it 2 reference images to turn into 1. You can actually give Nano Banana up to 14 reference images, FYI. So that's why these are split up the way they are, because it kind of just depends how much data we put on the front end. Now, down here on the bottom right, that's what we use for the actual video. From here, it grabs that Nano Banana image from Airtable, and then it sends it to Veo 3.1 to create that video, which then gets uploaded, right? No matter if you do text to image or 1 image or 2 image, eventually they all come here to the video automation to create the video. So that's why it's split up the way it is. Now, what you just saw in the demo was our 1 image to Nano Banana image. And so what occurred there is we first went into Airtable and we gave it some sort of reference image. We then gave it an image prompt, and then we set our settings, right? Resolution, aspect ratio. From there, we hit the start image button, which triggered a webhook. That webhook is this right here. So we click the button in Airtable, then this webhook triggers. We then grab all that data from Airtable you just saw. We then send an image request to Kai AI. Kai AI is the API we are using to actually use Nano Banana Pro. Somehow, some way, it's actually cheaper to use Kai AI's API than it is Nano Banana. Again, no idea how these guys stay in business, but that's what they do. So we send the request to Kai AI to use Nano Banana Pro with our stuff. We then have a webhook node, which also acts as a webhook to wait for the response. Once we get the response back that, hey, your image has been created, we then download that image. We then extract that image and turn it into base 64. Once it's in base 64, we upload it to Airtable, and then we go ahead and update the record in Airtable as well, saying, hey, it's complete. So real quick, data goes inside of Airtable. We grab data from Airtable. We send requests to Kai AI to do the Nano Banana edit. We then download the edit, and then we upload it to Airtable. That same sort of template, that same cadence is repeated throughout all of these, right? It's the same when we do text to image. It's the same when we do 2 image to image, right? The only difference is here we pull 1 image, here we pull just text, here we pull multiple images. And even if we look at the video workflow, and again, this is taking that final Nano Banana Pro image and turning it into that video, it's the same idea, right? We click the button inside of Airtable, the webhook grabs it, we then get that data from Airtable, hey, what's the video prompt, etc. We then run it through a prompt optimizer like I talked about before, which essentially takes your crappy prompt in Airtable and makes it actually good. And then we use Kai AI again, right? We request them to make the video, we then download the video, and then we upload it, right? Same exact cadence, same exact template for each of these. So that's the big high level overview of how this all works. Now you've seen the demo, you have somewhat of a murky view of what's happening big picture. Now we're gonna dive module by module, and I'm gonna be bouncing around between n8n and Airtable to show you how you set up each of these nodes. And I'll also go through the 2 image, the text and all that and show you the differences between those. Although once you set up one of these, they're about 90% the same. So let's start with the webhook. What do you need to change here? Well, what you're gonna need to do is we're gonna have to do things inside of Airtable right away because we have to give Airtable information about this webhook. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna copy this, and then you're gonna go into Airtable. But in terms of going into Airtable, I give you the full Airtable template inside this template. So if you go here to the left where it says resources and you click on Airtable template, it will bring you to that template. You're just gonna do copy base, and then that will duplicate it inside your own Airtable instance. So that way you're all set up. But once you get that production webhook from here, I want you to go inside of Airtable, and we're gonna need to edit this, the start image button, because this button is what calls the webhook, and now you need to give it your webhook information. So you're gonna go to edit field, and then you will see this pop up, right? This URL formula. And now what you need to do is you need to edit this part that goes all the way up to the question mark, right? What I have highlighted up here, that whole HTTP, and then you see the question mark, everything before that question mark, you need to copy paste in your webhook. So on the template itself, when you use it, it'll say like your URL, right? You would just delete that and you would paste in your webhook, right? That's what you need to do. And you need to do that not only for this image 1 table, but also the image 2 table and the text table, right? We actually have 3 tables inside the space, which correspond to each of the essentially starts, right? Text, one image, multiple images. So once you paste that in, you're all set. Next thing you need to do is let's take a look at the get data. Now, of course, you need to set your credential with Airtable. If you've never done that before, it's very easy. You're just going to go to create new credential. You're going to hit open docs and you're just going to follow the instructions. Shouldn't take more than 30 seconds. You're then going to put in your base, right? Mine's called Nano Banana Pro, and then set your specific table, right? In this case, we're doing the one image table. Next, we filter by formula. So status is equal to create. Now, why do we do that? Well, right here, you'll notice the images are set to complete. Well, if I have set this to create and this to create and this to create, if I hit the image button, it's then going to run it on all of the images at once and create Nano Banana Pro images. That way you can do multiple images with the click of one button. But when you're ready to create a Nano Banana Pro image, you'll just set it to create, right? It defaults to standby. But that's how it knows which data to pull. Nothing you need to change here. That's just saying what data it pulls from Airtable and then how we sort it. And then all the data gets pushed over here on the output. Next up is our create image request. And this is where we actually send our API request to Kai AI to make that Nano Banana edit for us. Now, what do you need to change here? Where you need to set up your Kai AI API. If you've never done that before, you're going to set authentication to the generic type, header auth, and then you're going to create a new header auth credential. And then when you create that new credential for Kai, the name will be authorization. Then the value will be bearer space your API key, right? Exactly like that. Capital B space your API key there. Now, where do you get your API key? Well, you're going to need to head to kai.ai. You're going to make an account and then you're going to go to your settings. So if you come to the top right and then you go to market, come on the left. First of all, go to billing. You're going to need to add some credits. So I suggest adding at least $5. Then you're going to come to the section that says API key. You're going to do create API key, name it whatever you want. And then you're going to copy paste that API key in there. So once you copy this, you go inside here and it should look like that. That's how you set up your Kai AI API key. Now, next thing we need to do is we need to send our JSON payload. So let's take a look at what we're actually passing here. So first of all, the model is Nano Banana Pro. We have this callback URL, and I'll explain that with the wait node in a second. We pass our prompt, our aspect ratio, our resolution, and then the image input. As for where we are getting all that data, well, that comes from the previous node. Remember the get data node we just ran? That's just all the information from Airtable is being mapped to this request that gets sent to Kai AI. Next, we need to wait for it to actually create our image. What you'll see a lot of people do are these really ugly like loops where they're essentially just pulling a get request over and over to see if it's done, but we can do something a little more elegant. So you're going to create a wait node. We're going to set it to on webhook call, and you want to make sure it's on post. Okay, so this actually creates a webhook of its own, and you can see it here. It's referenced with the execution.resume URL variable. And if we go back here, you can see that variable reference right here in the callback URL. Now, what does that mean? Now, I've harped on this before if you've seen previous videos, but that means we make our request to Kai. We're saying, hey, create this Nano Banana Pro image for me. And you're also saying, hey, here's my callback number. Call me on my wait node when you're done, right? The alternative to this is you go, hey, make this Nano Banana Pro image for me. And then you create a couple other nodes with like a loop that basically says, hey, every 30 seconds, I'm going to go to Kai AI's door and I'm going to say, hey, are you done? No? Okay, I'm going to go back and wait 30 seconds. Hey, are you done? No? I'll go and wait 30 seconds. If you ever see polling nodes like that, that's what they're doing. This allows us to just wait on one node till they call us. And it's also quicker, right? There's no dead time, right? We instantaneously know when our product is ready. Next up, we have the next HTTP request node. And this is us. Now that we know our image is already completed, they created it. Now we just need to download it. So all we're doing is we're setting this get HTTP request and we're passing the URL of where our image lives. Now, if we look down here on the left, you'll notice the image is here in this results JSON little item, but it's kind of a mess, right? It comes in like a results URL and then there's a colon, like it's disgusting. Well, that's why we have this code here and essentially parses it. So it just grabs the URL for us, which is nice. So we download the image, but we can't pass it in that format to Airtable. So we have this extract from file, which turns it into base 64. And then from there, we upload it to Airtable. Now, Airtable is so nice to us that they decided to not create a native Airtable node that allows you to upload images, which is why we use the HTTP request for this. But it's going to be post. This is just red because it is pin data. But there is something that you need to change here. You need to change this. See where I'm highlighting? What is this? This is the link to your Airtable base. Now, where do you find this? Well, if I go back inside of Airtable, it's going to be kind of small, but you see up here in the URL, you see after it says airtable.com/, there's then a string of numbers and letters that starts with app. So like app 2ER, blah, 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 blah. And then eventually it ends with another slash. You want to copy that, come back in here, you want to paste that in here. Okay, you must do that. Secondly, you see this nano image thing right here? Don't touch that, but that corresponds to this nano image. That's how it knows where to put this. If you change this name, nano image, you need to change this part I highlighted. But if you don't do that, just make sure you update this. Pretty easy, should take 10 seconds. Next up, just make sure you have it connected to your correct token. And then we're just passing some additional data, right? Content type, file name. You can change the file name if you want, doesn't matter, but you shouldn't have to edit anything here. Only thing you need to edit is what I just referenced. This guy right there. So that uploads the image to Airtable. Next, we just want to update the record. So if you click inside here, right, connect your credential, make sure it's on the right base and table. And then what we're doing is we're just moving that status from create to completed, right? That's what allows it to automatically swap this from create to completed once it's done. Just looks nice. Now that's how you set up the automation for all these. So what do you need to change for text to image? Well, the only thing you need to change inside of here is go inside of these, make sure you're again on the correct credential. Make sure you've now changed the table to the text table versus image 1. That's all you got to change. The only other thing you need to change with that is just like I showed you, go to the Airtable upload module and just update this. This will be the same for all the tables, right? Because they're all on the same base. So again, come up here, app, blah, 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 blah. Copy that. Now, once you update those, then again, you also need to update the webhook. So we're going to go inside the text webhook, copy the production URL, come inside here, go to text, start image, edit field, and then we just input our webhook. Same as before. Kind of tedious, kind of annoying. You just have to do it once for each workflow. And again, it should take you 15 seconds. So you've updated the webhook, you've updated your credentials, you've updated that little annoying part with the base link. Once you've done that, you now have your image and text completely ready to go. And this same exact process applies here for the 2 images. Now, like I talked about in the intro, this whole thing that you're seeing today in this demo, this is like cool. We're turning this image into like this UGC video. But remember, these are tools in your toolbox. And whether you create this for UGC or whatever, understand this is super portable. You now have the ability to have some sort of starting prompt or starting image and then use Nano Banana Pro inside of n8n. How you apply that tool in whatever context is kind of up to you, but these are just the building blocks. That's why I created all 3. And how you see me set up for 2 images, well, you can see pretty quickly how you would set up for 3 images, 4 images, 5 images, 6 images, 14 images, right? Like this truly is like your Nano Banana Pro template. Use it that way. Last but not least, let's talk about the video portion of this, right? What are the big differences we're looking at here? Well, A, we're using a different API because we're using video. And then B, we have this little prompt optimizer in here. Besides that, it's all pretty similar. Now, again, we are going to have to start with this webhook and copy and paste some things in here. So what you're going to do is you're going to go production, copy that, come back here into Nano Banana, come back here into Airtable. Now we come down to the create video one and we're going to go to edit field. All right, I've kind of blown up this so you can see this a little bit better. So just like before, right, you're going to copy paste that webhook into this section, everything before the question mark. You'll notice one other thing though. We have this table ID. So we need to pass the table ID. This also is kind of annoying, but I'll show you how to do it. Again, we're going to go to the URL up here. Remember how we were playing around with this, the base ID where it says app, blah, 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 blah. Well, you see this next part and the next slash where it says table, you know, TBLCZBPN. You're going to copy that and you're going to paste that in here, right? That way the table information gets passed to n8n as well. You're going to have to repeat this process for each of your sections. So while that webhook is going to be the same for all 3 of them, right? The one that does the video, you are going to have to update that table ID. So I'm also going to go into my second base, right? To image, going to go to edit field. I'm going to update that with the webhook for the video automation. And again, I'm now going to update this table ID with the new table ID up top. Again, tedious, but it takes 5 seconds and you only have to do it once for each table. Now, once you've done that, you've completed the most annoying part of this entire workflow, which is getting all the webhooks actually set up so these systems can talk to one another. After that, it's pretty similar, right? Now we're going to get data. And again, you'll notice we're mapping some things. Remember how I had you just pass that table ID? Well, that's because we're passing it here, right? And that's dynamic. Each table has a different table ID. And so now it gets passed here inside of this node. That way it knows if it's looking at like the text base or the one image base or the multiple image base. This just gives you a lot of flexibility. From there, it grabs all the information from Airtable, and then we send it over to Gemini for the prompt optimizer. Now, this is a place you definitely need to mess around with and make your own. So this prompt optimizer is doing a couple things. First of all, we're sending it not just our prompt, we're also sending it the image that we're going to create the video from to give it more context. And so we pass it the prompt, we pass it the image, and then what we tell it to do is all of this. Now, all of this is us saying, hey, when I give you a prompt and an image, I want you to analyze that image, and then I want you to spice up the prompt and get way more detailed in terms of like camera movements, atmospheric effects, the subject animation, whatever. I'm essentially just trying to make that prompt as strong as possible based not only on my prompt, but on the image itself. Now, this is something you can totally customize to whatever you're trying to do, right? If you're only doing UGC videos, well, you better come inside of here and make sure that this prompt optimizer is all about optimizing for UGC. If this is only for stuff with your brand and your brand has specific messaging and all that, you would edit this so it reflects your brand messaging, the type of video aesthetics you want, etc. So definitely mess around inside here. And this obviously is using Gemini 3, which is super powerful. So once we have that prompt optimized, now we go ahead and we make that request to Kai AI. Again, make sure you set up your header auth, and there's nothing else you need to touch here, but we'll go over it so you understand what's happening. So it's sending that prompt, sending the image URL, right? That Nano Banana Pro image. We have our callback URL. Again, remember that wait node that's going to come into play. And then we also pass the aspect ratio. From there, just like everything else, we wait for them to tell us that, hey, your video is done. We then download the video here. We extract it to base 64, just like we do with the images. We upload it to Airtable, and then we update the record, right? Again, make sure you're on the correct base. There's nothing else you should touch here. But real quickly, before I forget, Airtable upload, just like all the other ones, you're going to have to come inside here and update this. Remember, this is right up here. That app, blah, 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 blah. That's what you put here. Nothing else you need to touch, besides make sure you're on the right token. So that is how you combine the power of Nano Banana Pro and n8n, and not only combine their power, but put them inside a system that allows you A, to control all in one place inside of Airtable, but B, take those images and actually do something with them. In this case, turn them into videos. So as for where you can get your hands on this particular template and the Airtable template, you can find that inside of my Chase AI Plus community. There's a link to that down below. If you're looking for more free resources, including 50 plus free AI automation agents templates, you can find that inside my free Skool. And there's also a link to that down below as well. Now, as always, let me know what you thought about this video, and I'll see you guys around.